All right, everyone. Samori Benjamin here with former 10-time NBA veteran and great college player, Kentucky 1996 NCAA most outstanding player in the tournament when Kentucky won a national championship. All right, and also got to give him his props for high school, Mr. Tennessee in basketball, and also McDonald's All-American Tony Delk. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, my pleasure being on.
Yeah, definitely. So, you from Tennessee playing basketball, just how did you get interested in basketball, and who were some of the guys you looked up to growing up?
I would say start with my older brothers, David, Leslie, Ricky, and you have 5 brothers, and 3 of them played high school, college basketball. You have no other choice but to come into the game. So, I contribute everything, my success to my brother David, Ricky, and Leslie. And I spend more time with my brother Leslie, who taught me the ins and outs of basketball.
I hear that. That's great. And high school, what was the competition level like in Tennessee coming up?
I got a chance to go with some of the best players in West Tennessee, and when you made the regional sub-state, you would go with Memphis. So Memphis always had the best players. So whenever you can hold your own and have a great game against the guys in Memphis, they'll let you know that you were one of the best players in the state of Tennessee.
Right, and so you went to Kentucky for your college ball. Now your head coach, Rick Pitino, he's now here in New York, the head coach of St. John's. And I've heard a lot of great stories about your coach, and just how did you end up going to Kentucky?
You know what? It really started with Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan started recruiting me my sophomore, junior season, and I was on the AAU circuit. So Billy was the one that really influenced me and got me to go to Kentucky. So if it wasn't for Billy Donovan, I don't know if I would have went to Kentucky. Memphis was in the running. Arkansas was in the running. My mom wanted me to go to Arkansas, who had Nolan Richardson there at the time. But Kentucky seemed to be the best fit for me as far as my style, and just having Billy Donovan, the way he recruited me, and then when I took my trip to Kentucky, it was more about the tradition and the history of Kentucky was what really sold me on the program.
But did you have any favorite players like growing up in high school or before high school?
To grow up in Tennessee, I really just became a fan of my brothers. Just watching the NBA like Dr. J, older players. So whoever my brother liked and grew up on, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, those were the players that I watched. But really, I love watching my brothers play.
You know what? And when you were in college, right? I feel like your era was the last great era of college basketball, because that was before everybody started leaving after 1 year. Like that was when the great players were still staying 3-4 years. So you had the top talent guys that were staying junior, senior year. So you had these really outstanding teams. You had like real stars in the game that everybody knew. Like now, the best players leave after 1 year. So basketball fans don't really know who the stars are because everybody's always changing. But so at Kentucky, and there were so many great college teams at that time, great competition, and you're playing in the SEC. What was it like, first of all, just playing in college basketball at that time?
Well, like you said, it was so different because you had sophomore, junior, seniors, guys that could teach you the game as you come in. Me being a freshman, not playing a lot as a freshman, I learned from a guy like Dale Brown, who was a senior, to teach me the college game. So it's an acclimation of going from high school to college, and then you playing against guys that are grown men, guys that you watch playing. And I always had epic battles with Arkansas because of Corliss Williamson, and that goes back to AAU circuit when we was on, and I played against Corliss Williamson. So when you think about how the game was during that time, you played against really good guys who were ready for the NBA because they had the experience. So the experience helped me become a better player.
Okay, now at Kentucky, your second year, I believe, your sophomore year, you made second team All SEC, and Arkansas, you mentioned, they won a national championship in '94. So you guys, 95, the following season, UCLA won that year, right? So you all, I know, were in the Elite Eight, right? And you lost to Carolina, right? The Tar Heels, to Rashid and them and Stackhouse in Washington. And you know what? I actually heard a story about how after that game, Rick Pitino made you all watch the game over again 3 times before you all could even leave the locker room, and then again when you got to the hotel. So just what do you remember about that?
Well, just losing that game was tough because we had just beaten a really good Arizona State team, and I thought in '95 our team was just as good as '96 team that won the national championship. And we had a bad game. Walter McCarty got a second foul, which ended up being a technical took them out the game, and then Carolina made their run. And you got to look at Rasheed, Stackhouse, Jeff McGinnis, had a really good team.
Yeah.
But when you think about how good we were, you know, in the NCAA tournament, the best team don't always win. You know, you can have a bad shooting night and you can go home and you can be the best team. You probably could beat the team 9 out of 10 times. So we learned from that. You know, we knew that we had to always play our best game. So coming back into 95-96 season, everybody was dribbling. We basically returned everyone and added Derek Anderson and Ron Mercer. That made us a much better team in 96.
Really quickly, that 94-95 season in Arkansas, you battled with them in the SEC, and Arkansas ended up making it back to the championship game that year where they lost to UCLA. So what was it like between you all that year in the SEC battling?
Well, you know, just looking back, I mean, we would always beat, the first 3 years, Arkansas would beat us during the regular season, and we would beat them in the SEC tournament. So we had their number. Later, they got our number early. But to see UCLA win it in 95 and knowing that we played UCLA early in that year, like it was probably our second game or third game of the season. It was the first ever John Wooden Classic. We lose by 1 point. So when you see a team cut down the nets that you lost by 1 point on their home court in California, and then you see Arkansas, who you beat another team that was there, we knew we had the talent. We just had to put it all together. In 95-96, having myself come back, Walter McCarty, we had more experience. That's what usually helps you get over the hump, experienced players.
Right, and so you're talking about the guys that you added for the 95-96 season. One guy you guys lost was Roger Rhodes, I remember, right? He went to USC, I believe. And yeah, so that was, you all had a loaded team. So now, 95-96, you all poised to get to the Final Four. And to me, like I said, like that was like the last real special era of college basketball. I still remember the Final Four. It was yourself, UMass for Marcus Camby, and John Calipari, head coach, Syracuse, and Mississippi State, right? And the Knicks actually drafted your teammate Walter McCarty.
They did.
After that year in '96, after that tournament. So, but what do you remember? And you played in Jersey at the Nets' old stadium, old arena. What do you remember just about that Final Four in that time?
Well, what I remember is we lost to UMass early in the season. Our second game of the year, we went on a 27-game winning streak. So, and during that 27-game winning streak, we had beaten Mississippi State. Mississippi State beats us in the SEC championship game, ended our winning streak. But the great thing about coming out of that game was we knew that we could win 6 games in a row. When you can win 27 games in a row against really good talent, you know you got a chance to get to the NCAA tournament and win. And then playing against Marcus Camby, you know, he was College Player of the Year, which I have to make the difference. I thought on my team I should have gotten that award. That's a whole other story, for a different day. But going against UMass, beating them, and Mississippi State going against Syracuse. So if Mississippi State had to beat Syracuse, we'd had a chance to revenge both of our losses that year. So I was looking forward to Mississippi State winning. But John Wallace carried the Syracuse Orangeman in, and great friend of mine, unbelievable player, had a great college career.
Yes, and the Knicks, of course, drafted him too after that tournament in the first round. Walter McCarty, your teammate, John Wallace, and Dante Jones, who also was in that Final Four at Mississippi State. Yeah, so, all right, now, to win the Most Outstanding Player award for that Final Four, that championship game, I know it had to be a great feeling, but, I mean, how was that for you?
You know, you look at all the work you put in. Coming in at 92, not playing a lot, in my mind, getting ready to transfer, and not knowing, you know, how important it was going to be for me to earn my position, but also just learning how to play with other talented, great players. And that's something that Coach Pitino did a great job of preparing us for different times in the game. You know, life after basketball, life off the court. But when you get to the Final Four, you know, you are the best 4 teams that are remaining. And with us knowing that we had the most talent, it was going out there and showing the world that we were the best team. But to get the most outstanding player, it speaks volumes for my teammates. You don't receive an award like that unless you have great teammates and willing to share the ball and make the sacrifice. Having Anthony Epps, Antoine Walker, Derek Anderson, Walter McCarty, Mark Hope, Naz Muhammad, I can go down the list of guys, Wayne Turner. We just had a great group of guys. And even Jeff Shepard, whose son is going to do well in Kentucky right now, but we were a great team. We was connected.
Yes, okay, so then you get drafted, right after that, you get drafted to the Charlotte Hornets, and Hornets at that time are kind of going through transition. They had just traded Alonzo Mourning the previous year, and that summer they traded Larry Johnson to the Knicks, right, for Anthony Mason and all that. So how was it for you just to being able to be drafted right in the middle of the first round and to have that first rookie year in the NBA?
Well, it's unbelievable. You know, it's something you always dream of, you know, being a not even a high school player, collegiate players, that someday you'll love to hear your name getting called. And when my name got called in 1996, for my family to be with me and me to be at home in Brownsville, Tennessee, it was probably the best time of my life. But I'm not gonna say better than seeing the birth of my kids, but I have to put it up at the highest level of one of the biggest milestones that I ever had as a player.
Okay, now immediately as a rookie, like, what's something that really kind of jumped out to you? Like, whoa, I'm in the NBA now. Just how is that for you?
At first game playing against MJ. When you get a chance to play against MJ, who is my GOAT, maybe not in this younger player era, they're looking at LeBron James, but when you watch a team like the 96 Bulls, the team that won back-to-back championships, did the three-peat 2 times, is you seeing a collection of the best players in the world. How well do they play? I remember playing in Charlotte and we were down like 30 points in the 4th quarter, and I look over Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman all in ice. That lets you know how good the team was, but they took care of their business. So being a player, you understand what it takes to be an elite level. And they had an elite level of players, but it started with Michael Jordan, who was the best player in the game at the time.
Yeah, and you were traded very early in your career after that first season to Golden State. So how was it for you to experience the business side so early in your career?
It was tough. When you get drafted by a team, you think you're going to be there. That team's going to see you develop and grow as a player. And I never thought I got that shot. And when I got traded, I remember playing against Charlotte Hornets. It was personal because Muggsy Bogues and I, we both won that trade. And I remember them coming out to the Bay Area. I could not wait to play the Charlotte Hornets. And of course, we won that game. I had a pretty good game. But when you get traded, it's your emotion, your feelings involved, because you're thinking in your mind, I'm going to be here for 4 or 5 years, but then you find out later it's a business. A lot of guys get traded, you know what I'm saying? But I tell you what happened, your money still go with you and it's still guaranteed, but you guys just got to go pick up, start all over again. But at the end of the day, it's still basketball. Still something that we love to do, we're just in a different city.
Right, and so I know you went to Sacramento next, and you talk about former teams and playing against former teams. So after Sacramento, you go to Phoenix and you have your 53-point game, and I believe you made like 20 or 27 shots, and it's against your former team, Sacramento. So what do you remember about that?
It was wanting to leave Sacramento and go play with Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame point guard, but he made the game easy for everyone that played with him. So when I left Sacramento, it wasn't because I didn't like the team. Sacramento was a great team for me, being, it was the only show in town. It reminded me of playing in Lexington. But I just thought the opportunity was better. Then I wanted to go, and not only play with Jason Kidd, but Scott Skiles influenced me to come over as a player. He wanted me to be a two-way player, so it was a special moment. But when you get a chance to have a game like that, it's like every shot was going in, like everything that I was doing was right that night, other than us not winning the game. But you also get a chance to play and see guys that once you get to that level, how great guys are. You can look at them as a 9th or 10th man, but it don't mean they can't play and they can't have a great night.
Yes, I know. So much talent in the NBA, I know. And so you say you went to Phoenix because you wanted to play with Jason Kidd. So Jason Kidd ends up getting traded to the Nets in Jersey. You get traded to Boston for Joe Johnson trade, and then you all end up facing each other in the playoffs, Nets versus Celtics, right? So what was it like just being traded to Boston and playing there, and then having the rivalry against the Nets in the playoffs?
That was a tough one because, at the time we were in Phoenix, Jason and I, Rodney Rogers, and Cliff Robinson, Sean Merritt, we had a really good team. And when Jay got traded, our team went from like maybe a 4th or 5th place to the 13th place. So it let you know how important Jason was to our team. But to play him in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was a great rivalry that we started because we lost them 2 years in a row. But just how the team was, it let you know how special of a player he was to get the guys that he played with Kenyon Martin and those guys. He made the game easy for those guys. And that was the reason why when I left Sacramento to go play with Jay, I knew the game was going to be easy. He's one of the best ever to get guys who love to score like myself and love to shoot easy shots.
No doubt about it, It's amazing how he's able to do that, And so then, what was it, just in terms of playing in your career, you played with a few different teams. I know you went to Atlanta also, you with Dallas as well. And you played with so many great players. If I asked you, who was the most talented teammate you ever played with, who would that be?
I don't want to leave anybody out. You know, I think that's the toughest answer that I could ever give, because there was always somebody on every team, from playing with Steve Nash to Jason Kidd to Chris Webber, Glenn Rice. Anthony Mason was a good mentor. I played with Chauncey. I played with Tayshaun. There were so many good guys that I played with. You know, and just to say one guy in particular, I really couldn't even. I can think of a lot of guys, but when you said one guy, I think they all had an impact on my career.
You were a great three-point shooter, and today's NBA three-point shot is being shot so much more than ever was when you were playing. What do you think just about how the game has moved to so many three-points being taken?
I mean, I like it. I think former players, you know, not to hate on what the young guys are doing, but the game has just really opened up a lot more. Like now it's open court. You know, it's positional basketball. All five guys can handle the ball. All five guys can shoot. So to me, the game is more exciting. When I played, you had a power forward in the center, and those guys occupied the low block. So there was nowhere for a guard to drive because those bigs wanted the ball, and they weren't moving. So you look at how the spacing is now, it's so much better. If you're a guard that can handle, you got speed, this is the best time to play basketball.
Okay, now when you were with the in Boston, well, Rick Pitino was there right before you, but Rick Pitino is here at St. John's now, and St. John's is a school that has not had a lot of success, and I can remember coming up, I was a fan of St. John's, big St. John fan, but they really haven't had a team to me that was a legitimate contender for anything since like 2000. Rick Pitino, when I see him come, I'm very excited about him. I believe in him. I believe that he can definitely get St. John's back to being a legit contender for a title. So, what do you think about this Rick Pitino coming here to New York to St. John's?
I think he's going to definitely brought the excitement, but just for me, one of the best coaches I ever played for. X and O's, great motivator. He understands the game at an elite level. Just how he thinks the game, his IQ. So when he gets we recruit those players, he's incorporating them with the knowledge that they've never had in basketball before. Some of the things that he taught me as a young man in my 20s, I still carry to my basketball program in Atlanta, Tony Delk Basketball Academy. I'm still teaching kids what he taught me 20-some, 30 years ago. So when I say the brain that he has is probably the most amazing I've ever seen, because his love for the game, his passion for the game, but the way he teaches it is something that's going to last forever.
Okay, two more for you. Who were some of the few of the toughest players you ever had to go against?
Oh, a lot of great players. AI was one of those guys, because AI had the freedom and the green light. So he's one of the toughest players to guard. You think about where the game was at, and you know, setting screens for him can get 15, 20 shots a quarter if he wanted to. He was tough to guard. And then you had Kobe. Kobe was an elite. He was Michael Jordan with better handles. And not to say Mike couldn't handle the ball, but Kobe had some tightness and some things in this game that was tailor-made for whatever era he played in. But just he was like one of the hardest guys, because he could shoot the three, mid-range game, he could post you up, and then he could get by you, and then he could finish on the basket. One of the only guys I can say that dunked on me in the NBA. I will admit to that, you know.
Did you ever play against a young LeBron?
LeBron was just in the league at that time, so it was like early for him. He was just coming in around in 2006 when I was leaving. So, but phenomenal player. You got to look at what he's done for the game. He's been an ambassador. He's been a face of the league for 21 years, and you know, if there's a GOAT, one GOAT, two GOAT, or A+, A-, that's where he's at in my book.
Got you. Last one. I know since you stopped playing, you've been coaching, and also you're talking about what you're doing with the kids and all that. So what are you doing now just with the kids in Atlanta?
Well, I still have a basketball program that I've been running in Atlanta for the last 6 years. It's called TDBA Tony Delk Basketball Academy, 4th grade to 8th grade, elementary, middle school, high school kids, and some college kids that come back that I've trained when they were in elementary and high school. And currently I'm working for the Dallas Mavericks as an NBA scout. So seeing the game on the highest level on a nightly basis, I'm enjoying it, I love it, and my ultimate goal someday is to be the one that's making decisions and drafting the players.
Awesome. Okay, you hear that? We need to get my man an opportunity in one of the NBA front offices. Okay, former 10-time NBA veteran, the legend at Kentucky, 96, most outstanding player in the tournament where Kentucky won a championship. Tony Delk, one of the coldest shooters you'll ever see. Thank you so much, all right?
Appreciate you, no doubt.
Appreciate you, man. You too. All right, folks, we're back.